everybody likes the back rows. I know. You guys should come up forward to give our alumni some relief from their eyes strain trying to see you. Oh, okay, whatever they say. Anyway, I want to welcome you all to the Native American Speaker Series, a first ever alumni panel. And we're very proud to have these three alumni here who are going to astound you with their wonderful exploits in whatever it is that they're doing. But first of all, I wanted to do just a housekeeping note in that, and I'm sure you probably already know this if you've had classes in this building. You know where the bathrooms are, right? Just down the hallway, just go past, hey Myra, go past the stairs, and then the men's and women's bathrooms are down there right close to the library. And in the ungodly event that we have to leave, the alarm goes off, there's an exit right there, very handy. Don't panic. Or you can go out the door and go around the corner, and there's an exit just down here. So that being aside, I want to say thank you for coming. I would also like to give thanks to the Ottens Foundation and the Native American Center for providing the thought, the funding, the students even who are working our event here. I also want to say that following this event, there will be a reception over in the Native American Center. So when we're done here, if you could just head over there, hold off on any kind of questions, any burning questions, and go over there, and then you can meet these three guys. You can take them in the corner and talk to them, or you can talk to them all together as a whole. And then, I don't know if you know this, maybe you do, but next week, Saturday, is the Pueblo Feast Day. We had a feast day last year. We're having our second feast day this year on Saturday, and it promises to be really, really nice. We have about 5 or 6 Pueblo governors that are coming, and some are sending representatives, so it should be a fun day and educational day. And last, I would like to turn this over to David Kearns, who is I wrote it down here, Director of Alumni Advancement. And this is part of a relationship building program that we're doing with different parts of Fort Lewis College. So here's David.
Thanks, Yvonne. My name is Dave Kearns, and on behalf of the 28,000 Fort Lewis College graduates, we are honored to have these three individuals in front of you. In front of you is Asa Washines, Seth Damon, and Chet Gladstone. We're going to give these three an opportunity to introduce themselves. Then we're going to roll through about 6 prepared questions, and then we're going to open it up to question and answer from all of you. Asa, you want to start?
You guys hear me? Yeah? All right. Shaklawit Naimuma. Good evening. My name is Asa Washings from the Yakima Nation. It's good to be back here at the fort. It's good to be back with all the students again. I was here from 2006 to 2010. I was pretty involved in a lot of different activities on campus. I graduated with a degree in political science, American Indian Studies. Currently, I serve on the Yakima Nation Tribal Council. I was one of the 3rd youngest ever elected in the history of the council. There's 14 of us. We are the largest tribe in the Northwest. We currently have an enrollment of over 11,000 tribal members, and our land base is 1.2 million acres. And so, yeah, I'm going on I serve a 4-year term. I'm going on 10 months now, being elected. I was here last year for the 100 Days Powwow, and like literally days before I came here, that's when I was elected. And so it's always good to come back. I call this my 2nd, 3rd home. And so, it's really great coming back home to the Southwest, to Fort Lewis College, and see all the faces, and that Fort Lewis College continues to honor its tuition waiver for Native American students, and it just feels really good to be back. And so I hope tonight, in working with the Alumni Association, we can build something strong for you guys and all the future alumni. And so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Washings. Can everybody hear me? Okay. I just want to say thank you to everybody for being here, first and foremost. Thank you, Mr. Kearns. Thank you, Mr. Kearns. Everybody, Mr. Gladstone, thank you for being here all the way from Blackfeet Reservation out in Montana. Thank you, everybody out there in the audience, for being out here, and everybody watching outside in the World Wide Web. My name is Seth Damon. I am from the Navajo Nation. I'm Bitani. That's my clan, born for Nanastasia Tachini, do Ashini, I should say, and say Bitni, I I am from south of Gallup, a little place called Bay Kid, New Mexico, which is in what they consider Red Rock and Bahala chapters. I know I have some students here who are in my district right now that currently represent, and I want to thank you guys for being here this evening. But I want to go ahead and introduce myself in a different fashion. I want to say this is my home for a number of years. There's a young lady sitting in the back whose name is Myra Britton. Thank you for being here. I haven't seen her for quite some time, and she was pretty much our mother for all our years that we went to school here at Fort Lewis College. Thank you, Myra, for being here. I started out my schooling years here with Mr. Gladstone. Me and Mr. Gladstone had our very first class together in 2003, and it was an eventful thing, and Chet was one of the very few first individuals I met here at Fort Lewis College, and we'd grown up, and I think we almost ended up on the 10-year plan. Ain't that right, Chet? So, so don't be surprised that if it takes you a little longer than 4 years to graduate, that's not a problem. I've been up and down in this school, in and out, and I've grown to love this college with all my heart. I didn't want to leave. I think I almost cried the night that they had to tell me to leave out of the Centennial Apartments the weekend after I graduated. But I graduated in 2008 with a dual degree in political science and American Indian Studies. At that time, it was called American Indian Studies. Now it's called Native American Indigenous Studies, and also graduated with 2 minors, one in environmental justice and the other one in anthropology. So that's the reason why I was on the 10-year track, you know. I took a lot of responsibility in that, took a lot of input, and I really put that into honing in on what I had to do. And with that, I've taken a lot from what I learned here at Fort Lewis College to know that every day that I was here was a reason to live. It was a reason to fight for something new. And individuals in this room, you know, have pushed me to make sure the person I am here to become before you today. And I want to thank you guys for keeping me in school here. It's not only the teachers, the professors, the staff, but also my colleagues in college that kept me afloat, that kept us going every day. And those are individuals that really pushed you out and getting to know who you really are in college. I pushed myself after that. I graduated, like I said, in 2008 to move on. And I started out to go to school at Grand Canyon University to get my master's degree, but fortunately, the job force wanted me, and I got a taste of money, so I jumped out of that, and I'm currently still obtaining my master's degree from Grand Canyon University. But I eventually went back home. I told myself I wasn't going to go home. I had a job interview right out of here. That I said, if there's one place I'm going to go, it's going to go overseas. And I had a job interview in Burma, across the ocean. And I did take it. I went over there and I came back, and I knew that I had to do some other things with my life, and my daughter was here to move on. And as long as some of you guys know that I was a single parent here at the college for a number of years, and my daughter's 14 years old now. And I think that takes a lot of responsibility to why I came home too. And that's the reason why I knew there were some problems with our nation. What I'm talking about is our Navajo Nation, the place where I represent, and that's where I currently am right now. I currently represent the Navajo Nation in a faction where I'm in. As of this year, with Mr. Washington's past couple months, I was elected onto the 23rd Navajo Nation Council and represent 6 chapters and a population the size of, I think it's 3 times the size of Yakima, but it's about 36,000 residents across the Navajo Nation, and that's what I'm currently doing. So I'm here today, and I want to say thank you guys for inviting me. Thank you, Yvonne, for inviting me back to Fort Lewis College. Yeah.
Thank you, Seth, for those wonderful words of insight. Hello, my name is Chet Gladstone. I'm from the Blackfeet Nation in Montana, and was a student here starting in 2003 with Seth, and I was underestimated from day one. You know, like, oh, this guy's gonna fail out for sure. But I was able to overcome and find a good tutor and a mentor that taught me how to go to college, and I was thankful for that, because I failed out my first semester, and coming from a small reservation in Montana, in Hart Butte High School, we played basketball there, won a couple state championships, and came down here in hopes of walking on the basketball team. And I was grateful for Coach Hoffman allowing me to walk on. And I played 4 or 5 years down here. I didn't win the national championship like I had hoped. But, you know, you follow your dreams, and sometimes you don't always catch them. Sometimes you do. You know, my dream was to play for a NCAA school, and I did that, you know, and coming from way up in Montana, that's a pretty big thing, because not a lot of students go to school where I live at, or go to college, and even less of them graduate. So I find myself in a good position to come back home and help my people. We're still working on ways to do that. You know, it's not so easy. You know, we got situations on there that are pretty hard to help, and with the rest of the world too. You know, that we're all in this boat together, and we all have to figure out ways to go into the future that doesn't kill the earth. You know, and right now that's what I'm doing. I'm just looking at ways that we can create new businesses that are going to help the earth, help the people. And in this process, I'm still in the research and development phase, you know, because it just doesn't happen. If it was easy, then it would already be done. But nothing's easy that's worthwhile in this world, like the Buffalo Council, which I also helped kick off out here in college. And when I talked about getting the Buffalo, people just said, you know, that's crazy. You know, that will never happen. But we were able to do it, and we showed people that you can actually do things that you want to do in this world, you know, and that was a big success in my life, you know. And it's not really a big thing, because we always used to butcher buffalo for millions of years, or however long, you know, we were here. So it's just trying to revisit this old cultural ways and look for our personal, enhance our personal health through a paleo nutrition diet, which is just a diet that all of our ancestors have always used since the beginning of humanity. And then the paleo diet will help you stay away from disease and sicknesses, and I would recommend it to all of you. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm just looking at trying to live a healthier lifestyle and trying to figure out ways that more people can live healthy, and that's kind of where I'm at right now in this phase. You know, we went back. I went back home to find that the reservation had begun to exploratory frack on the whole res, and they set up on all the waterways and used our water to explore on the fracking, and that's one of the issues that people face today. You know, how are you going to go into the future? You know, are you going to frack, or are you going to find a sustainable way that we can go into the future without destroying the water? You know, so these are some of the questions that I try to answer, but it's pretty hard to answer, because these are questions for humanity, and we haven't answered them yet, and we're still looking for the way. And, with that, I'd like to.
Thanks, Chet. We're going to.
Up there.
Now, the three of you knew each other while you were in college, correct? No doubt you all had very different experiences. Can you tell us about your FLC experience and how it helped you with your current career path? Let's start with you, Ace.
When I came to Fort Lewis College as a freshman, I was a non-traditional student, and that really, prior to me coming here, I was in the military, the United States Army from 02 to 06, been to Afghanistan, been to Korea, and so I kind of had an understanding of how the world works. And so when I came here, I really wanted to get involved. You know, I dove kind of headfirst into a lot of activities. One of them being Student Senate. I was involved in Student Senate for several years, and that really showed me how to build relationships. And I really use that today. That's one of the big learning tools I did, was working with other people, trying to understand them, trying to understand where they're coming from, get their train of thought on how legislation works, and budget matters, and that really helped me where I'm at right now. And so that's one area in which the fort helped me. Another one was just being involved with everything, with all the students and all the different tribes and all the different majors. One of the things that we did here was we started the Native American Student Council, and had a short. It was established for a short period of time, but that organization that we did was my colleagues to my left, and there's a whole bunch of us. Vince Salabai was a part of it. That organization really started looking at what are the issues with our Indian students on campus. You know, we looked at retention rates, graduation rates, and enrollment rates, and all those issues, and then how can we students figure that out? And that's when Yvonne just came on. And so the students worked with Yvonne on trying to solve these issues, and that's when we started the first ever Native American Orientation Day. And so it's through partnerships like that, collaborations, it really helped me establish, okay, what does networking look like, what does organizing look like, and how it can be successful. And all the work that goes into it being successful, it doesn't happen overnight. And so within the school setting, in the learning environment, coming here, it allowed us to be successful because of the administration, because of the faculty, and because of the hard work of the students that we put into it. Is different, is unique. And so we started an Native American Orientation Day with all the students. We started the Village Gathering. At the time, we called it the Village Gathering. Now, from my understanding, that's become a position within the NAC, mentor-mentee program. They go out and do social functions. And so that started, with the students coming around and talking, just like you guys right now. And so so that's what I took with me into the real world. And so kind of use your experience here in the safe learning environment. Take what you can, those experiences, good or bad. We often failed a lot of times, but it was through those failures that we learned how to be successful. And that's what I took from here, The Veterans Club, myself and Duran Begay was a part of that. We tried so many years to get that going. We was part of that. Able, ACES. I wasn't part of them directly, but indirectly I was a part of it. And so there's a lot of things that that we just kind of had this continuous involvement. And so that's what I took away.
I think one thing that, a couple of things actually, that I can say that I took away from going to school here, my years at Fort Lewis College was first the understanding of growth, inner growth in myself, and being successful. That was one thing that I can say that really dominated myself going to school here. To let you guys know, I always talk off the cuff and I tell people how it is. I went to school here and I got kicked out of this college twice. I got kicked out of this college twice. One of them was for alcohol, and second one was for not meeting the grade requirement. And in that growth, it really spawned out something to get sometimes I use the words, get myself together, you know? And I did that, and it was the help of the staff, my colleagues, my college colleagues, to get myself back on track. And out of that, I knew that I could help out my people, individuals in my communities, and I started off by doing that. I started off on helping students out, getting scholarships back, getting financial aid back. I started organizing different things with the Native American Center. I started relationships. I started a unity program here at Fort Lewis College. By the time I continued my overall education and inner growth here at Fort Lewis College, there was times that we would have 500-600 Native American students together at one event. We were a unit. We were a pride nation here amongst all the tribes that went to school here. We were an organization that really helped out each other. And that's when spawned all these other entities, spawned Washington to become who he is, spawned Chet Gladstone to start that Buffalo Council. We were a rebirth of students, I can say, at our time, to really help out each other and get everybody involved. With the help of Ron Pevney, right here, sitting before you in the audience tonight. He was our academic advisor at the Native American Center. Myra Britton, they helped us grow into the people who we are. And right now, I can tell you, I have so many relationships with so many of my former colleagues that I went to school here with. Every place I can land and fly into any town, and I can guarantee you that there's not one person that wouldn't want to just pick me up from the airport, because how much time and relationship building that network of people that we have here. It didn't matter if you came from Washington, Montana, Northwest, Northeast, Southwest, Southeast. We knew that once we landed here at Fort Lewis College, we were a community and we were a family. And that's the overall growth that we had as a whole network of understanding young students going to college and trying to get that goal, of meeting that goal and getting that degree. That was the biggest thing I can say accomplished here at Fort Lewis College.
Thank you. And Chet, do you want to tell us about your Fort Lewis College experience?
Yes, I would love to tell you about my Fort Lewis College experience. Well, when I first showed up here, I was able to walk on to the basketball team, which right there, all my dreams came true. You know, I was able to play again, and then over the years, you know, of being here, started working towards a degree and opening up my mind and getting a lot of information intake, and getting better at basketball and having a lot of friends, and about my fourth or fifth year, I can't even remember. It all becomes a blur, you know. And I got injured. It was right before the basketball season started up, and I had injured my Achilles tendon. and I wasn't able to finish out my career and win the national championship and do everything that I came here to do. So sitting back in my house that I was staying in with a hurt Achilles and not being able to really walk around too much, you know, kind of at a low point in life, you know, down there in the ashes, you know, I was sitting there contemplating, and I woke up. It actually woke me up, you know. I was able to take all the information that I learned from Fort Lewis College and my friends and experiences, and I was able to wake up and see the world for what it was. You know, it wasn't running around in a gym, you know, chasing a ball, which I love to do. I just couldn't do it anymore. It was bigger than that basketball court, you know, and there was a lot of problems that I seen in the world, and I just tried to alleviate some of the pain, you know, by starting the Buffalo Council and bringing the students some good quality meat, you know, because when I was here, a steak was pretty much unheard of. And when I was going to school, they didn't feed them in the cafeteria, and I just wanted a good piece of meat because I came from a meat-eating community, and so starting the Buffalo Council and trying to do some of the things to wake up other people to the realities of the world, you know, and it's because people fail to gather precise information about life-threatening matters that many of them are no longer with us. So I just try to look at these life-threatening matters and try to go around them, you know, and try to lead people around them. And so that was my experience, you know. It woke me up, you know, going through here, learning everything, and waking up, and then studying business management. And now at home, you come back to the reservation, and there's a housing problem on the reservation when you go home. So you find it hard to live when you go home, unless you want to live with your parents or your cousin. So I got into the building trades and started being a laborer, and I learned all the different skills it takes to build a house from the ground up. And I'm thinking about starting a new construction company so that I can build houses for people, and starting with my house. And that's one of the things that the project management helped me do, you know, because learning project management here really helps you to manage projects on wherever you go, you know. So wherever you go in life, you're able to critically think, and I think that's what I got from Fort Lewis College, is just being able to think and solve problems and see problems and try to work through them.
Thanks, Chet. You sort of alluded to our next question, and I'll start with you based on your comments about the anti-fracking movement that you're involved with. Tell us about what you're working on right now within your community.
Well, right now I'm not working on much. You know, the frackers they were fracking, and the tribe was supposed to do a 2/3 vote on any oil and gas related issues, and they bypassed the vote and just passed it themselves. And so when I asked people about the fracking, you know, none of them were all for it. You know, they were kind of, some of them just said, I never signed, or I never voted, you know. And so that led me to believe that we had been bamboozled by the frackers. And they came in and they bought off some of the tribal council, maybe, I don't really know, I never looked into it. But I just know that they were there and they were fracking. And from down here, you realize that water is everything. You know, if you don't have water, you're not going to have your life. and they were up there, and they say that it's safe, but they were doing it on a well by well basis instead of a cumulative assessment, and we tried to ask them for a cumulative assessment, and that was kind of how that was one of the things that dissuaded them from continuing their quest for natural gas on our homeland. And that's all I have to say. Seth, do you have anything more to add?
Okay, yeah, I'll take it over from here, Chet. Thank you, Mr. Gladstone. I think a couple of things that I'm really working on back home. Every day we take a lot of things for granted that we do. Going to school here, living in an urban city, living in an urban environment. But where we come from, most of you guys are college students too here that come from reservations, Indian reservations. And one of the biggest things that I'm really working on right now that has in real instrumental part of why I'm sitting before you today is just knowing that we have to help our people a little bit more, a little bit better. And I told Mr. Washings and myself, we're in our current jobs right now, we have a 4-year limit, 4-year term limit. And in that 4 years, you have to ask yourself something. Did I do something for my people in the last 4 years from the time I got elected to what I'm doing right now? And one question is that there's a couple of things that I'm really trying to press right now that has a real issue, that are really need attention towards these issues. And one of them is the basic human need of water and electricity to my people. That is the biggest thing that I'm working on right now. It is 2015, and we still have people living in our communities all across in Indian country that don't have that basic human right of water and electricity. That is the biggest thing that I'm really working on now. I'm going to Washington, D.C. next week to go to the budget formulation meeting with the BIA, and I need to fight for more funding for our people up there to make sure that they hold that trust responsibility between the tribes and the United States federal government. When we signed those treaties with the United States government, it's stated in there that they have a trust responsibility to uphold us and to consider us as what they deemed us as domestic dependent nations. And water and electricity are those basic human rights. The second thing I'm really working on right now that I'm tasked for is our economic development squad in the Navajo Nation Council. And one thing that I'm really leading the charge on and moving forward with is to get New Mexico to reauthorize our Navajo Nation Gaming Compact with the state of New Mexico right now. And that's where I'll be headed out. I was in Santa Fe prior to this. I'm going to leave back to Santa Fe tomorrow to try and get that completed. We will be having our final hearing on Saturday, and that's just something we really need to consider and keeps the money flowing into the Navajo Nation. Issues of housing, Chet brought up a point on housing. Housing is an issue when you come home. You guys move home, what are the options for housing? After you graduate, you guys go home. That's an issue for housing. Rural development and infrastructure needs. Student issues. How do we get more and more of our students into classrooms like this? Right now, in my county, Gallup, McKinley County, it's just south of here, there's 175 kids that are going to graduate from college or from high school this year. Only 8% of those kids are going to go on to college. We need to bump those numbers up, and that's just something that's really instrumental in getting our communities back home and getting them better educated in order to bring home not only money, but also bring home a better lifestyle for our families out there. So those are some of the big things I'm working on right now, and that's just what we really have to go in and hound in on part. Other than that, Mr. Washings, I think you can elaborate on what you're going on and what you're doing. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Seth. You know, the responsibilities and roles that a councilman have in today's age vary, and when coming into this position, it's hard to explain to people the things that elected officials do. And so the only way I can explain it is, if you guys know state senators and the job that they do, and the responsibilities of a U.S. senator. And so those are like, I mean, that's how wide range varieties that we deal with on a daily basis between a U.S. senator and a state senator. And so we got issues all the time going on. And I was fortunate enough, you know, this is a liberal arts college. And so I was able to take some of these general classes to help me understand, have a better broad understanding of a lot of these issues. You know, I took an anthropology class randomly. I learned about Section 106, you know, and that's huge. And so, you know, that Section 106, if you don't know, talks about consultation with tribes when it comes to repatriation, you know, and then like the NEPA process and how that works. And so, and then diving a little bit more, like federal legislation that affects tribes. You know, Violence Against Women Act was passed, but there was some language that was left out. Like Alaska tribes were just left out intentionally. And so it's working with our colleagues, our brothers and sisters from Alaska, and trying to insert that language and to get a fix to that. You know, Seth's leaving to D.C. I just came back from D.C. This past week. There was a National Congress of American Indians conference going on in D.C. It was a winter executive session. I flew in last night. I got here like 12:30. So to be here today, and you know, from tribal tax policy reform to next week tribal BIA appropriations, and how much that affects us, because there's a lack of, you know, that lack of business, a lack of entrepreneurship on reservations. Most of our funding for our tribe comes from the BIA. About 75% of it comes from grants and contracts, which is huge. But because of our funding comes from them, we're subject to their guidelines, you know, and so there's things that we want to do. There's ways that we want to promote our own inherent sovereignty, but we're limited because of that money that we receive. And so we are pushing economic development on the reservation, like Seth alluded to, you know, and, you know, just like any other municipal roads, potholes. You know, we got potholes on the res, it's like, you know, anywhere else, and that's a big issue, and trying to find money for that. You know, car eaters, you know, and so from local, you know, it's really crazy. The biggest, not the biggest thing, but one of the most is working with local municipals, towns on the reservation, probably like the size of Durango, working with the tribes, you know, and so we're moving into this new era of tribal government. You know, this is the 21st century, you know, and how do tribes evolve from here, moving forward? And so there's, you know, and we really need people like yourselves, students, to come work for the government to make these issues work a lot better for tribes. And so from wild horses to transportation, child care, economic development, wastewater treatment plants, biologists, soil scientists, you name it, tribes need it. And so, and those are some things that we're working on at Yakima Nation. Thanks.
Thank you. We've spent some time talking about the changes that need to be made. Let's go down the line and talk about your own personal tactics of what you do to affect change.
Personally, what I'm trying to do to affect change is really be, you know, like I said, this is the 21st century, and I'm trying to do outreach a little bit more, better. Than previous, I guess, councils have done before. Try to build those relationships, just sit down conversations with people. One thing that's different, I think, is working with our allies. That's what I'm trying to do. When I say that, I mean, they're coming from Washington State. We're a pretty progressive state in Washington when it comes to our state elected officials and federal officials. And so I've been trying to build a relationship with them. I'm pretty involved with the state Democratic Party. I've got to sit down and talk with Senator Cantwell on several issues. I'm pretty close with the state chair of the Democratic Party in Washington, Governor Inslee, and so we're moving into this new paradigm where tribes, elected officials, and the state party can work together in this cohesive way. And it's unique. It's never been done before. I'm part of the Native American Caucus in Washington State, and come 2016, those swing states, if you look at them, that's Indian country. North Dakota, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, those are the places that are really going to make decision of the next president. And so if we have a good relationship with a party that represents our values as tribal people, it's going to go a long way. And so that's a different approach that I've been taking. Come Saturday morning, I have a meeting with our party, and so I go to DC. I'm here, and I have another meeting Saturday morning, and so it's life on the go, and so that just comes with the job. But so that's how I'm trying to affect change.
I think one thing that I can say about affecting change is that not only here while going to school here, but also in my current position and what I'm currently doing was we have to start thinking new methods of thinking and going outside the box. We can't be doing the same thing that's been done, because if you look at the way things have been done, we still have these problems. We still have these issues. We still are coming up short with not being in fund programs. We're still coming up short in making sure that individuals do not get the right education, or our suicide rates are going up. We still are getting the issues not being completed, and we have to start looking outside the box. And I think I started looking outside the box going to school here. I know that one big thing that really took it outside the box is trying not to pigeonhole yourselves there as students. You got to get out there and do something for your community. You got to do it. You got to start now. You got to think about what you can do right now for your community. Here, when I was going to school here, I was started an American Indian Studies program, and they told me, how is American Indian Studies can go straight into formal politics or being into politics? And there was no direct link between that. And at that time, I was deterred by Dr. Wheelock and Dr. Chris Jocks at that time, and I argued with them that American Indian Studies is a vamp of what we can do, of where we can go and how we can go ahead and protrude new areas in life and new areas, new programs. And we had to think outside the box. So with doing that, I was the very first one to go out and be an intern for our congressman right down here, for Congressman John Salazar. Dr. Wheelock and Dr. Jocks would not sign off on that for me to be in that internship program for a while, until I pressed it to them that American Indian Studies is not just about what we're doing right here. Our Native American Indigenous Studies is not about just what we're doing within Indian country. It affects everything that we have a part of our lives, everything around there. Or when I was on the student council, and just for the record, I was the one that told Washington to come on board after I was the first Native American senator after a couple years. So I just want to say that for the record. But pigeonholing ourselves there too. There, I brought a new light to the student senate. When I was in the student senate, we had a problem with kids not being able to come home after having a late night out. What did I do? We implemented a full-time bus service for the Buzz Bus. We did that. I did that. I took upon myself to take care of these kids because I don't want them to freeze in January at 2 o'clock in the morning, I did it upon myself to go be a part of the Transit Authority Board while I was on the AFSLC, to say, okay, how are we going to get more of our students to have, we don't have that much money. How are we going to get a bus pass? How are we going to make sure that we can help out ourselves out? And I did that. The way I did that was I made sure before I left that room I had a heated debate with our city council to make sure that that trolley that's downtown right now is because I fought till 2 o'clock in the morning to make sure that that was free for you guys here today. I did that because I thought outside the box. I didn't think inside the box. You have to always think of different things you can do in your current state right now. What can you do to help out your people, your college students, your colleagues here on this campus? How can you make their lives a little bit better? When I was on the student senate, one big thing I fought the hardest for was to make sure that your student fees did not go up. Unlike my gentleman to the right of me was in for increasing student fees. We fought tooth and nail. Sometimes it was 25 cents, 50 cents. I did not want those student fees to go up because that was the responsibility of the state to make sure to build up that responsibility, not only for Native American students, but for all the students here at Fort Lewis College. And that was something you have to start thinking outside the box wherever you guys are at in your current position right now. How can we start? How can we go about starting to help out our people? How can we start out helping our community? That's just something that's really inspirational. Thank you.
Thank you, Seth.
Chad, you want to tell us how you affect change?
Yeah, I try not to change anything. It's just a headache. You know, the monk came to school one time, and he gave a presentation over in Noble Hall, and he said, if you want to make life easy on yourself, don't try to change the way somebody thinks. If you want to make life hard on yourself, try to change the way somebody thinks. So right now, I try not to change the way people think, you know, and when I see something that's wrong that I want to change, then I'll go through it very methodically, you know, and I'll talk to the players, and I'll just sit down with them, and I'll get to the I'll flush out the egos and the agendas and whatnot, and I'll see what's what, you know. I'll find the good and the bad and the bad and the good of people, and we'll get to the core issue, and we'll see if we can build from there, because otherwise you're just on the outskirts, and you can't really change anything from the outside. You have to be in the nucleus, in the eye of the tornado, from my point of view, you know. So if I want to change something, I'll get in there and I'll talk to people and I'll find out what's going on, and I'll try to find a moral high ground for us all to stand on and go into the future with, you know. And right now, the way that I affect change is I don't try to change the way people think. I try to change myself and the way that I live. And if I can do that, then I can set an example for somebody. You know, I always try to be an example if I wanted to see somebody do something. And right now I research alternative energy, and that's the way I affect change in the world. There's all these little devices and stuff that they've come out with that can lessen the carbon footprint of everybody. You know, if we all just go through these little things, there's a little device that you can add on to your car that will add 30% gas mileage on just by adding a little bit of hydrogen into your air intake, you know. And there's other ways that you can get off the grid and not have to rely on a coal company thousands of miles away or whatever, you know. And just trying to get my own life in check as far as my carbon footprint. That's what I'm trying to do. And as soon as I figure that out, I'll let you all know. And but right now, it's still a work in process. I'm researching, and I hope to be developing something soon. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got about 15 minutes left, and the vast majority of our attendees tonight are students. Ace, could we start with you with giving giving advice to current students?
So, when I was really a student here, I was really involved in a lot of different things, a lot of clubs, a lot of organizations. I was on the rugby team, in the choir, and I took pride in that. But at the same time, I will say my grades did take a plunge. And so and in today's world, a bachelor's degree is becoming more like a high school diploma. And so you do need to, after getting your degree, you need to go to get your master's, and you need the grades. After graduating, I was unemployed for 17 months, and at that time I was trying to get into grad school, but my GPA wasn't that high. So I really encourage you to just to be bold, stay involved with a lot of activities, but also watch your grades. It's easy to get carried away in all these activities because it's beneficial to the community. But at the same time, if Indian country needs smart, educated students with master's degrees. That's the new thing out there now, and so I really encourage you to maintain your grades. And so that's one thing that I just want to harp on you guys. This is your grades, and so if I can go back, that's one thing I would do is just focus on my grades a little bit more, and less extracurricular activities. Thanks.
I think just going off what Mr. Washington stated, that's encourage you guys to go on to get your master's degree. But I think currently, right now, I think just what I stated before in my last question is that I really, really would recommend that you guys go outside your box right now, do something for the community, get your feet wet and start charging forward, because once you graduate, it's an uphill battle in order to get things done. And they're not going to give you a job right out of college, that's for dang sure. My colleague just stated he waited 17 months to get a job after he graduated from college, and that was from his tribe. When I graduated, I put out 40 applications to my tribe. Not one of them stated I had enough experience. Not one of them stated I had enough. Either that I was overqualified or I was underqualified or I had no experience. So please, with your internship, try to get as much experience as possible in doing that. But lastly, but not least, it's college. You got to have fun. You got to get out there. Make sure you do have some extracurricular activities, like Mr. Washington says. I lived by that for a number of years, and it's the only time in your life you guys can't relive. So you guys are here, have fun, get the job done, though, and graduate and get out of here and go on and get your master's degree. We need more lawyers in Indian country. We need more accountants in Indian country. Accountants are making $69,000 right out of college. Lawyers, we have so many programs to get more lawyers out there. Look into those opportunities. And I know Mr. Washies and myself, I don't know about Mr. Gladstone, but we did get accepted in law school, and I know once we get out of the council, we already started, we're going back to law school, and we're going to go get in there and get that degree. So other than that, have fun. Do it up for as much time as you have, and make sure to ride that river a couple of times in your life. Don't get stuck up here. Make sure you have as much fun and ride that river. Thank you.
Thank you, Seth, for those wonderful words. Go to school, get good grades. Your future's so bright, you got to wear shades. I'm sorry, what was the question?
The question was, what advice do you have for current students that are following in your footsteps?
Oh, okay. For current students, get up early, eat breakfast, take your shower. that'll load you up for the day so you can go out and study and do whatever you have to do. And then tuck yourself in at night, go to bed a little bit early, and take care of your body and eat well, and maybe do a little bit of stretching and a little bit of exercising, and think about what you're going to do after college, and talk to people in your communities, if you can, if you have connections back home. I know I never. And see if you can get a job coming out of college. See if you can get a place, so you're not just going home like I did with no job and no place to stay, and all these things that make life hard, And also, I'd like to say, join the Buffalo Council. They're a good group of students, and I think they're going to affect change. And you can get in there and you can affect change yourself, and whatever change you want to make. You want to go in there and live sustainably, or do whatever. Just mention it to them, or start your own club. Build a network. Build a network of friends, and keep their emails and their numbers, and stay in touch. Because you never know where they're going to go or what they're going to do, In this world, it's hard to do anything on your own. You always got to have a network. You always got to have a community, especially if you want to change things, And another thing is try to get scholarships. Don't go home with a bunch of debt, because a job isn't guaranteed out of here. And you don't want to be having those debt collectors follow you around like they follow me around. I always have to change my phone number. I'm just kidding. They recently contacted me and said, "All right, $5 a month." I said, "Yeah, right." That'll just pay interest, and they'll be paying that forever. Once I'm able to use this degree, they might get it back. But right now, I'm trying to change the world, and it's hard with no funding, and nobody that wants to fund good projects, like saving the earth. The only thing that you can find funding for is oil and gas and all these things that don't save the earth. So you're going to have to find your own funding if you're trying to save the earth. But if you're not trying to save the earth, then you can probably go get a job with the oil company right out of college if you want, But I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend going the hard route, finding a way that we can actually go into the future sustainably, and not just go into the future any old way, But all in all, I would say find somebody to love, and love them with all your heart, That's what college is about, And chances are they're going to have a good head on their shoulders if you find them here, Other than that, just take care of your body, take care of your health, take care of your people, and look out for one another. And everything will come full circle, and you'll live a happy life ever after. That's what I'm doing, by the way. I'm living happily ever after right now in Montana. But I have to cut it right there because I think I'm all out of good information right now.
Hardly. There's plenty of good information left. Anything left from the panel that you'd like to say before we open it up to Q&A? No? Any questions from the audience that you'd like to ask to our panelists?
This question is for Seth. I'm from the Chechelta chapter, and I just want to know what you're doing currently for my chapter.
Thank you. I think one of the big things I can touch back and base on for Chechelta chapter, just to give you guys a rundown, I oversee 6 chapters, and each of the chapters have anywhere from about 600 to 1,600 members of that chapter that live within the district, within the area. Chechelta is my second biggest district, and that's about 23 miles south of Gallup, New Mexico. It runs along this line of the Zuni Nation, so we're right on the Zuni side, right on north of the Zuni line. That's where the Chechelta boundary is entailed. One of the biggest things that is hounding the chapter right now, your chapter, is first they don't have a chapter. They do not have a chapter. And just to give you guys another background, my seat right now was my father, Mr. Charles Damon II, had this seat, and he retired after 89 years. He's 89 years old, and he retired this past year, and he took over. And in his last term as your council delegate, which I took over his seat, he obtained $700,000 for your new chapter. That new chapter is coming up. We did get it through design and engineering, but there's still problems with the funds coming out from the state of New Mexico that we still have to reallocate. That's just one thing I'm working on. I don't want to get too hard-balled on my stance up here because I've only been on the job for 1 month. But the second thing that we're really trying to do is next week, Chechelta chapter has almost about 800 homes on the southern side of them, and it is the biggest area in New Mexico that does not have running water. That is the biggest project that I am going to work on for the next 2 years. That is the only project I'm going to be working on, even if I don't get reelected as your next Navajo Nation Council delegate in 4 years. Because 800 homes, times that by 4 people, that's about 36,000 people, 32,000 people living in just that area that do not have running water. That is what I'm fighting for next week in Washington, D.C. They only give us about $5 million each year for water improvement projects from the BIA, what Mr. Washington was talking about before, to our whole nation. $5 million is nothing if you consider building up homes. To hook up one home is about $300,000. To do that that's 6, that's about 18 homes plus the infrastructure on that. That's nothing. We need to get a revenue budget of about $75 million each year in order to meet the needs and the requirements that should have been done prior to now. So those are the 2 biggest things that I'm working on right now for Chechelta and the community. And last but not least is really trying to shut down one of our, we have 3 liquor stores in the vicinity of that chapter house. And that is one thing. There's one liquor store that's up for what they call for sale. And I am going to try, with the help of the Navajo Nation, we are starting to buy up these liquor licenses. We're going to process and buy up the liquor license in Sanders. We're going to process and buy up the liquor license in Tothlegai. And the next one, I'm going to put up the bid to buy that liquor license in Chechelta, because we have the opportunity to utilize those in different areas for our casinos, but also to sell them to other agencies for a profit in Albuquerque and Santa Fe. In Las Cruces, we can make a profit in selling those and getting those liquor licenses away from the nation. I'm not going to say that I don't support the liquor establishment in our area for that whole vicinity, and the reason why is because we've made some dollars from that. But 3 liquor establishments in one location is 5 bar too many in order to get that done. And that's not just in my area. We can talk about that at all over in Indian country. So hopefully that answers your question.
Unfortunately, we are out of time. This is such an incredible opportunity to have the 3 of you. I'd like to get a round of applause for our panelists. If you have any questions, there's a reception over in the Native American Center that starts right now. We'll all be headed over there together, and these 3 gentlemen will be available to ask questions one-on-one. Thank you so much for coming, and look to the Native American Center for upcoming events that are going on.
I also want to say thank you to everyone for coming. I, for one, am really interested in what they're doing. And I hope you are too, and you can start thinking about what they have advised as far as your career here, thinking outside the box, going back to nature. I mean, there's an awful lot of wisdom here, and I hope you take that chance to speak with them and take everything to heart. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Good panel.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Yvonne.
Graduation speaker someday. Thank you very much. You have fun?
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Nice. You should keep this for a very, very long time. That's great.
What happened to
Yeah, I was going to say I stopped.
Are you right over there? Or you walking? You're right.
I'm trying to recruit people, not discourage them from coming. I'm trying to make people